Good morning. This is Dr. Ken Long from the Department of Logistics and Resource Operations at Command and General Staff College. I want to run through a demonstration of one turn with the operational JRSO&I game called Forward into Battle. When you start the program, you are brought to a choose game type. We're just going to demonstrate a single player game. But it's worth noting that you can host a multiplayer game on a network or join a multiplayer game on a network, which can be very effective. When the screen opens up, you have the deployment planning worksheet, and what you've got to do is load your division and fuel into these 7 ships and then specify which seaport you want to arrive at. There are 3 seaports, A, B, and C. You can specify which turn. So let's load the Cape Fear into S-Pod A. When I hit the cargo, I'm going to bring in the division headquarters from a pick list. As you hit the pick list is diminished or decremented so that you only have the remaining units to choose from. Let's put some fuel on here, 3,000 fuel points and so on. And you would go through and load the 38 units of the division plus the balance of the slots being fuel. If I wanted to start over, I could hit unload ship and it would zero that out and put them all back on the pick list. That can be a little tedious when you play this multiple times. So if I load a saved game and start loaded, I have now the entire division loaded plus fuel. And now I can just easily adjust this setting instead of loading these all individually. So I'm just going to leave the default settings here. I'm going to bring in 3 ships on turn 1, and I'm going to use all 3 seaports just so you can see what that looks like. When I'm satisfied and I've locked in my move, I'm going to hit the X and close out the window. When I do that, then I'm locked into that ship load movement forever. In the future, if a ship has not yet arrived, I can change its seaport of debarkation or the date, turn that it's going to arrive, but I can't change the what's loaded on the ship. So we're just going to accept the default here. And now the ships are unloading, and the those facts are being recorded up here in the action reports. You can see this is blue player day 1, ground planning phase. There's no score yet between red and blue. Just a quick look at the screen. I've got 3 seaports that are represented as the squares, S-Pod A, B, and C. They're S-Pods. You can see they have the little nautical symbol. Then I have a series of nodes and routes in a transportation network, and what I'm trying to do is get the division and fuel stocks up into these assembly areas, the tactical assembly areas on the right. The division is going to go into S, T, U, and V, and the division base goes into R. In addition, the operational logistician is trying to load operational fuel stocks up here into the logistics support area, Romeo, as well. The 2 indicates that each route can hold or can support the movement of 2 units per turn. It's 2 in one direction or 1 in each direction. If I make it a priority route, that will go to 4. If I protect it, then it reduces the probability of successful ambushes and gives me a chance to destroy the enemy's ambushes. S-Pod A has 7 blue force units in it, and it is storing 3,000 fuel points. So the first thing I want to do is I want to start moving some units. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to select a node, and now my asset manager comes up, and what I have this turn is the ability to designate 2 routes as priorities and 3 routes as protected. A priority route means that I can put 4 down the road. A protected route means that I've got MPs patrolling it, so that leaves me 1 and 2. I'm going to use the northern route because that's the quickest route up in here, even though the enemy knows that. And I'm going to use a priority route here and protect it, and then I'm going to make this protected route. If I change my mind and I said, I've got 7 units in here and I can't clear the ports, so what I'm going to do is I want to no longer make that a priority route, I can unselect it. That gives me one remaining. Then I can come back here and make it a priority. So until I hit the next phase button, I can continue to modify my plan. So I've allocated my routes now. I'm going the northern route. Now what I want to do is use my asset manager, and what I'm going to do is select assembly area Delta, and I'm going to put an NBC team, an EOD team, and a tactical combat force in there. I'm going to do the same in I'm going to put a tactical combat force in assembly area G. I'm going to protect let's see, we're gonna let me move a unit. I'm going to move a division headquarters to Gulf. I'm going to move an armored brigade combat team to Gulf, a maneuver, and a brigade support battalion here. I'm going to move the recon to Delta, field artillery to Delta, and the second maneuver. I tried to put 3 down that route, but I can't because it's only a regular route. I can only support 2. So I'm going to move maneuver down to assembly area E. Now you can see those units have marched out onto the route. Now you can see that the chemical, EOD, and tactical combat force assets are now allocated against assembly area D. I'm going to put an air defense team in SPOD A to protect it against airstrikes, and same in B. Now what I want to do is move some fuel. When I click on fuel, this gives me my consolidated fuel report for all the nodes. I have 3,000 in A, 6,000 in B, and 3,000 in C. I have, I'm going to create a convoy now. I've got 2,500 transportation points, and that means I can move up to 2,500 fuel points one distance, or from one node to another node, to an adjacent node. So I'm going to move some fuel from SPOD B. I'll create a convoy. I'm going to move 2,000 fuel points, and then I'm going to right mouse click assembly area D. Now the convoy is going to move. If I come back to fuel, you can see that now the 2,000 have moved out of Bravo storage and into a convoy, and it's ready to go. And now I'm going to move 500 up to assembly area Gulf to support the move of those units. And so now I've allocated everybody in SPOD A. All the units have a place to move to. I've allocated resources. I'm not going to set the movement plan for B and C, but I would follow the same logic and decide where I was going to send units. So I've locked in my movement, and now I'm ready for the next turn. And now events are occurring. The enemy's putting IEDs and ambushes and chemicals on the routes, and that's causing some amount of damage. My units look like they're able to fight through it. Now the fuel convoys are moving. He's raiding my seaports, blew up some fuel. And if I wanted to see what the individual results were, I could go and scroll up through the action report. If I hit that, I can get a much broader view, details. Now what we have is an IED, unexploded ordnance, on that route. If I had an EOD team on either the SPOD or assembly area Gulf, then we could take that away and clear it. But as I don't, I have to wait an extra turn to clear it. All 4 of my units made it into assembly area Gulf. 400 of the 500 fuel points made it. He blew up 100. 1,800 of my 2,000 fuel points made it into assembly area Delta, and that's where we are. So ground planning phase is over, and now we're into the air planning phase. I can move one unit from any node to any other node. So I'm going to move. I'm going to pick a recon unit, and I look at the recon, and his final assembly area is going to be TAAU. So I want to try to fly him right into assembly area U. So I right mouse click, and now he's scheduled to go in there. Now he's going to need some fuel, so I'm going to do some aerial resupply. I'm going to move 200 fuel points into assembly area U, and then I'm going to build another 200. So now I've used up all 400 of my points. Now I'm going to push fuel up to assembly area November, so that when those 4 move up here next turn, that they'll have fuel to fall in on. So that's all done. Now I'm going to hit the next phase. Unit moves into U. He made it. Fuel is arriving into U and N. They both made it without being interdicted, so we got lucky there. And now we're going through the refueling phase, and units will try to refuel in priority first from the node that they're in. You can see it being decremented. Then if they can't, they'll try to pull it from a brigade support battalion or a CSSB. And if they can't do it there, they'll consume their own fuel. If they consume their own fuel, the next turn they can't move, and they will not be able to move until they get more fuel. Now we've moved ahead to the second turn, and the ground planning phase is ongoing. 3 more ships arrived, and you can see I got a pile of fuel, 9 units in S-Pod B. On the score sheet, blue is up by 6 right now, so if we looked at the victory status, what we would see is that in red, the Red Force earned some points for destroying some fuel. They didn't cause me to reconstitute anybody. There was 1 unit arrived in its assembly area on turn 1, so I got 20 points for that. And then we may have... Now, we didn't destroy any red assets, so when you add the blue and the red line together, you get this minor victory so far right now, plus 6 for the blue force. And then as we go through, you can you'll see the tug of war being reflected. If I can turn off the individual pieces and look just at the components of victory, for example, see what fuel loss is doing to the overall score. So that's one turn. I'm going to play one more turn now in the ground planning phase. If I can only move 2 down here, so what I want to do is I'll move the division headquarters and the brigade support battalion up there. I'm going to move the armored BCT, or the maneuver, and then the ABCT headquarters here. I'm going to have to move some fuel into there. So what I'm going to do is build... I'm going to put about 300 fuel points to support those guys, and I have fuel in November, and so on. Now, if I wanted to get rid of this IED, what I'm going to have to do is take the asset away from Delta and move it up to Gulf and put the EOD team in there, and then by the end of this turn, I could remove that, and I could use that route again. Now, since I can't use that route because there's an IED on it, what I'm going to do is take off the priority and the protection, since I can't use it this turn, and I'm going to redeploy those assets over here, and I'll make that one a priority. It's already protected, so I'm going to protect this route, and so on. And so now it's this cat and mouse game between blue and red as I try to move my units through the network and get up into their assembly areas as quickly as I can, losing as little fuel as I can, protecting my assets as much as I can, and trying to destroy his capabilities with my own countermeasures, and keeping score along the way. So that's 1 turn and a half in Forward into Battle. Thanks for your attention.